The night did not bring silence. It brought a cry, a sharp, piercing cry that cut through the stillness, too loud to ignore, too desperate to belong to the night. Old Okoye stopped walking, his body heavy from the day's work. That sound, it was not ordinary. It was a child, a baby. His heart began to pound as he turned slowly toward the bamboo fence near his hut. Who is there? He called out. No answer, only the cry. Louder now, closer. He dropped his hoe and moved carefully, his eyes searching the darkness. Then he saw it, a small bundle wrapped in clothes, lying gently by the fence. The cry came from it. Okoye froze. Chim, he whispered, bending down with trembling hands. He opened the clothes slowly, and there she was, a baby girl, her face wet with tears, her tiny hands reaching into the air as if searching for someone who was no longer there. Okoye looked around quickly. Who left this child here? He shouted, his voice echoing into the night. No response. The silence was heavy. He stepped back. I cannot carry this kind of problem, he muttered, turning away, but the cry followed him. It clung to his ears, to his chest, to something deep inside him. He stopped, closed his eyes. Memories rushed in, his wife Ezinne smiling softly, her voice calling him in from the farm, his son Chidalo running toward him with laughter, tiny feet kicking up dust as he shouted, Papa! Then the night came back. The screams, the fire, the chaos, unknown men breaking into his compound, his wife falling, his son disappearing into darkness. Silence after years of silence. Okoye opened his eyes slowly, his breath uneven. The baby was still crying, still alone, still waiting. He turned back. This time there was no hesitation. All right, I am here, he said softly, lifting her gently into his arms. The moment she touched his chest, she stopped crying, just like that. Okoye froze, staring down at her as she rested her head against him, as if she already knew him. Inside his hut, a small lamp flickered as Okoye placed the baby on a mat, his eyes fixed on her, as if trying to understand what had just entered his life. What kind of child are you? He asked quietly. The baby only blinked, calm and watchful. As he leaned closer, something caught his attention. A small mark on her wrist. Not dirt, not a wound. A symbol, carefully drawn, deliberate. Okoye's breath caught. No, this cannot be, he whispered, touching it slightly, his face tightening with unease. It felt familiar, but he could not place it. Outside, hidden in the darkness beyond the bamboo fence, a woman stood silently watching. Her name was Ngozi. Her breathing was fast, her body trembling, her eyes fixed on the hut. Please, take her, she whispered under her breath. She had run through the night to get there, escaping shadows that were hunting for the child she had carried. She could not go back. She could not stay. But she could not let the baby die. So she had chosen Okoye, a man she had once heard about, a man who had lost everything, yet still lived without bitterness. When she saw him carry the baby inside, her eyes filled with tears. You will live, she whispered, stepping slowly backward into the darkness before disappearing completely. Inside the hut, unaware of the eyes that had just left, Okoye stood and began pacing. This is trouble, big trouble, he muttered. Then he stopped and looked at her again. She was still watching him, still calm, as if she had already chosen her place. Okoye sighed deeply and sat beside her. I do not know who you are or why you were left here, he said, his voice softer now. But from today, you will not be alone. The baby moved slightly, her tiny fingers gripping his clothes. Okoye paused, then nodded slowly. You need a name, he said. After a moment, he spoke again. Nwamaka, because you are beautiful, and maybe you are a gift I do not yet understand. The baby made a soft sound, almost like agreement, and a faint smile touched her lips. Okoye's face softened. From today, you are my daughter, he said firmly. Outside, the night carried on, quiet and unaware, but far away, beyond his reach. Powerful enemies were still searching, and the child they fell to destroy had just found a home. Nwamaka grew from helpless baby left at Okoye's doorstep into a strong, kind, and graceful young girl raised with love, discipline, and quiet sacrifice. She knew only one father and one home, never questioning her past until the day the village began to look at her differently. Morning always came quietly in Okoye's compound, but life did not wait. Before the sun fully rose, Namaka was already outside, sweeping the clean ground with steady hands, her movements calm and practiced. The soft sound of the broom moved with the rhythm of her thoughts. Inside, Okoye sat on a wooden stool, watching her in silence. His eyes followed every step she took, not just with pride, but with something deeper, something protective, almost fearful, as though he knew her presence in his life was not something ordinary. There were days he still remembered that night clearly. The cry, the silence, the bundle, and the strange feeling that someone somewhere had trusted him with something too important to understand. Papa, Namaka said with a light smile, pausing briefly. One day, I will make things easier for you. Okoye forced a small laugh, though his eyes softened. You have already done enough, my daughter. Namaka shook her head playfully. No, I have not even started. She lifted a clay pot and placed it on her head, walking toward the stream with balance and grace. As she passed through the village, people greeted her, but their greetings carried something else. Their eyes lingered longer than usual. Some watched her like they were trying to remember something. Some whispered quietly after she passed. Nwamaka noticed it, even if she tried not to. At the stream, her friend Adanna joined her, lowering her pot slowly while staring at her face with unusual focus. Nwamaka, she said carefully, have you ever asked yourself why people look at you like that? Nwamaka frowned slightly, like what? Adana stepped closer, lowering her voice. As if you're not from here, she said. Nwamaka's smile faded just a little, though she tried to hide it. I am from here. I am Okoye's daughter. Adana held her gaze, searching deeper. If you say so, she replied quietly. But something in Nwamaka's chest tightened. The words did not leave her as easily as she wanted. That night, sleep did not come easily. Mama lay on her mat, staring at the roof, her mind restless. Not from here, she whispered softly, the words echoing in her thoughts. She turned slightly and looked at Okoye. He appeared to be asleep, but his breathing was uneven, like a man carrying memories he could not drop. And he was. In the quiet of the night, images still lived inside him. The screams, the fire, the loss of his wife, Ezine, the disappearance of his son, Chidalo. That pain had never left him. It had only grown quieter over time. And now, watching Namaka, he sometimes wondered if fate had returned something to him or borrowed something he would one day have to give back. The next morning, the calm of the village broke suddenly. Loud voices filled the air. A king is coming, someone shouted. Prepare the square. Men rushed to fix broken edges of huts and bamboo fences. Women swept and arranged the open spaces with care. The elders gathered in serious discussion. The energy in the village changed completely. Mamaka stood at a distance, watching everything with curiosity and excitement. She had never seen such movement before. Later, she returned to the compound where Okoye was tying harvested yams together. Papa, she said, her voice bright again, will we see the king? Okoye's hands paused, just for a moment. Then he spoke slowly. Stay away from the crowd that day. Mamaka blinked. Why? Okoye looked at her, his expression tightening before softening again. I only want peace. Namaka studied him carefully. Papa, you sound afraid. Okoye forced a dry laugh. Afraid? I am an old man. I avoid trouble. But his eyes said something else entirely. That evening, as Namaka arranged firewood, she noticed Okoye inside the hut, bringing out an old clothes bundle she had never seen before. He opened it slightly, staring at something inside, his face tightening, his eyes distant, as if he was looking at the past itself. Inside that cloth was the same wrapper the baby had been wrapped in. The night she came into his life, before Namaka could step closer, he quickly wrapped it again. Papa? She called. Okoye turned sharply, startled. When did you come there? Namaka walked closer. What is inside that bundle? Okoye held it firmly. Nothing that concerns you. The words came out sharper than he intended. Namaka froze. You have never spoken to me like that before. Silence fell between them. Okoye looked at her, regret flashing briefly in his eyes, but the truth remained locked inside him. Then suddenly, the loud sound of the royal gong echoed across the village. Deep, powerful, impossible to ignore. It announced one thing clearly. The king had arrived. Namaka turned toward the sound, her heart beating fast for reasons she could not explain. Something inside her stirred, something unfamiliar. Okoye looked too, but his face had gone pale, because deep inside that cloth bundle was a truth he has hidden for years, and somewhere beyond the village, unknown to them both, the same people who once tried to erase that truth was not completely gone. And as the sound of the gun echoed again, louder this time, Okoye knew with certainty that the day he had feared had finally come. The village gathered early, filled with excitement and pride as drums echoed through the air and voices rose in welcome. Men stood in rows, elders sat in quiet dignity, and women moved gracefully, preparing to receive the royal guests. Nwamaka stood at the edge of the crowd, her heart beating faster than usual. She had tried to stay away like her father warned, but something inside her would not let her remain hidden. It pulled her closer, slowly, quietly. Then the moment came. The king arrived. His presence carried weight. Silence falling naturally as he stepped forward. His eyes moved across the people, calm but searching, as if he was not just visiting but looking. Nwamaka felt it before it happened. His gaze landed on her, and it stayed. Too long, too deep. The air around her seemed to shift. She tried to look away, but she could not. Something invisible held her still. The king took a slow step forward, then another. His face changed, not fully, but enough for those watching closely to notice. Confusion, shock, recognition. You, he said softly, almost to himself. The crowd grew quiet. Namaka swallowed, unsure of what to do. Come here, the king said, his voice firm now. The elders looked at each other. No one spoke. Slowly, Namaka stepped forward, her feet feeling heavier with each movement. She stopped a few steps away from him. The king looked at her like a man seeing something he had lost and suddenly found again. What is your name? He asked. Nwamaka, she replied, her voice low but steady. The king's hand trembled slightly. Nwamaka, he repeated. Then, without warning, he reached out and gently took her wrist. The moment his fingers touched her skin, everything changed. His eyes dropped to her wrist and froze. The mark, the same mark his breath caught. It cannot be, he whispered, his voice breaking. The elders leaned forward, sensing something unusual. Your Majesty, is something wrong? One of them asked carefully. The king did not answer. His eyes remained fixed on the mark, his grip tightening slightly, as if afraid she might disappear. Where did you get this? He asked suddenly, his voice sharper now. Mamaka put her hand back slightly, confused. I was born with it. The king looked up at her face again, searching, studying. Then he turned slowly to the elders. Who is her father? The question fell heavily. No one spoke at first. Then, from the back of the crowd, a familiar voice answered, I am. Heads turned. The crowd parted, and Okoye stepped forward. His face was calm, but his eyes carried a storm. He walked slowly until he stood beside Nwamaka. The king's gaze shifted to him, sharp and piercing. You? The king asked. Yes, Okoye replied quietly. The king's voice dropped. How did you come to have this child? Silence fell again. The entire village waited. Wamaka looked from the king to Okoye, her heart beginning to race. Papa, what is going on? She asked softly. Okoye did not look at her. His eyes remained on the king. Then he spoke. I found her. A ripple moved through the crowd. The king's expression darkened. Found her. Where? Okoye hesitated just for a second. At my doorstep, he said finally. The king took a step closer, his voice now heavy with something deeper than anger. How many years ago? Okoye swallowed. Many years ago. The king's jaw tightened. His next words came slowly, carefully. The same years my daughter disappeared. The air went cold. Namaka's breath caught. Her eyes widened as she turned slowly toward Okoye. Papa, she whispered, her voice trembling. What is he saying? Okoye finally looked at her, and for the first time since she had known him, she saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. The kind that comes when truth is no longer hiding. The king stepped forward again, his voice now firm and undeniable. That girl is not yours. A deep silence swallowed the entire village. Nwamaka stood frozen, her world shifting beneath her feet, and Okoye said nothing. The silence that followed the king's words felt heavier than anything the village had ever known. Nwamaka stood still, her eyes moving slowly between the king and Okoye, her heart pounding like it was trying to escape her chest. Papa, she called again, her voice shaking now. Say something, please. Okoye's lips parted, but no words came out. His throat felt tight, his chest heavy. The king stepped closer, his presence now firm and undeniable. You heard me, he said, his voice calm but sharp. That girl is not yours. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. One of them cleared his throat. Your Majesty, this is a serious matter. The king nodded slightly. It is more than serious, it is truth. He turned his gaze back to Okoye. You said you found her. Then you know she does not belong to you. Okoye finally found his voice. I know she was left in my care, he said quietly. The king's eyes hardened. She was not left for you to keep. Nwamaka stepped back slightly, her eyes filling with tears. Stop, please stop, she whispered. I do not understand any of this. She turned to Okoye, her voice breaking. Papa, is it true? Okoye looked at her, and in that moment, every memory rushed through him. Her first smile, her first steps, the way she called him Papa with joy, the years they had spent together. His voice came out low and heavy. I found you many years ago. You were alone, crying. Namaka's breath hitched. So, I am not your daughter. The words hung painfully between them. Okoye's eyes softened. You are my daughter, he said firmly. The king cut in immediately. By care, not by blood. Namaka covered her mouth, her tears falling freely now. No, she whispered. No, this cannot be happening. The king took a slow breath, his voice now carrying emotion beneath the control. Many years ago, my child was taken from me. She disappeared without a trace. We searched, we waited, we suffered. And now I stand here looking at her. He turned to Nwamaka, his eyes softening. The mark on your wrist is not ordinary. It belongs to my bloodline. The elders leaned forward again, murmuring among themselves. It is true, one of them said quietly. That mark, it is known. Nwamaka shook her head slowly, stepping backward. No, I cannot just leave my father like this. She turned quickly to Okoye. Papa, say something. Tell them this is a mistake. Okoye's face tightened. He looked at her, then at the king, then back at her again. His silence said more than any words could. Nwamaka's voice rose, filled with pain. Papa, please. Okoye closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again, his voice calm but breaking underneath. If this is truly where you come from, then you deserve to know your people. Nwamaka shook her head quickly. I do not want another life. I do not want another father. You are my father. The king stepped forward again, his tone now firm. You may not understand now, but you belong with me. Namaka turned sharply to him. Belong? She cried. Where were you when I was alone? Where were you when I cried as a child? Where were you when I called someone Papa and it was not you? The words hit hard. Even the king went silent for a moment. Okoye looked down, his hands clenched. The king spoke again, quieter now. I did not abandon you. You were taken. Namaka's breathing became uneven. Then why does it feel like I am the one being taken now? She whispered. No one answered. The wind moved gently through the trees, carrying a tension that refused to leave. Then the king spoke again, this time with finality. Prepare her. She lives with me. The words dropped like a verdict. Mamaka's eyes widened in shock. She turned to Okoye one last time, her voice trembling with fear. Papa, you will not let them take me, right? Okoye looked at her, long and hard. The entire village seemed to hold its breath as Nwamaka's question hung in the air. Papa, you will not let them take me, right? Her voice trembled. Her eyes locked on Okoye as if her whole world depended on his answer. Okoye looked at her for a long moment, too long. His chest rose and fell slowly. His hands clenched tightly at his sides. The king stood still, watching, waiting. The elders said nothing. Time itself felt paused. Then Okoye spoke. His voice was calm, but it carried a weight that crushed the silence. You will go with him. The words fell like thunder. Mamaka staggered back as if she had been struck. No, she whispered, shaking her head slowly. No, you cannot say that. Tears streamed down her face as she moved closer to him. You said I am your daughter, Okoye nodded. His own eyes now wet. You are. Then why are you sending me away? She cried. Okoye swallowed hard. Because love is not holding someone when they are meant to go. It is letting them go when it hurts the most. Mamaka's knees weakened. I do not want another father, she whispered. I do not want another life. Okoye stepped forward and held her shoulders gently. Listen to me, he said, his voice breaking now. The night I found you, I did not know who you were, but I promised you would never be alone, and I have kept that promise. But now, the truth has come, and I cannot stand in the way of it. Nwamaka shook her head again, gripping his hands tightly. I do not care about the truth. I only care about you. The king looked away briefly, the pain in her voice touching something deep inside him. Okoye closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again, steady but heavy. If I keep you now, I will be taking you away from where you truly belong. And one day you will ask me why I did that. His voice dropped, and I will have no answer. Mamaka's grip slowly loosened. Her strength faded. Her heart was breaking, and she could feel it. The king stepped forward slowly, his voice softer now. I know I cannot replace the years he gave you, he said, but I am your father too, and I have waited for this day for a long time. Nwamaka did not look at him. Her eyes remained on Okoye. Will you come for me? She asked quietly. Okoye gave a faint, broken smile. A farmer does not walk into a king's palace whenever he wants, he said. Nwamaka's lips trembled. Then I will come for you. Okoye nodded slowly. I will be waiting. There was a long silence. Then, slowly, Nwamaka stepped away from him. Each step felt like it was tearing something apart inside her. She turned once more, her voice barely above a whisper. Papa? Okoye nodded, unable to speak. She wiped her tears and walked toward the king. The moment she reached him, the space between two words closed and another opened. The king placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, but his eyes remained on Okoye. There was respect there and something like gratitude. Without another word, the royal entourage began to move. Nwamaka did not look back again, not because she did not want to, but because she knew if she did, she might run back and never leave. Okoye stood alone as they disappeared. The quiet life he once knew, now empty. The village slowly returned to normal, but nothing felt the same. Days passed, then weeks. One evening, as the sun began to set, a royal messenger arrived at Okoye's compound. He carried a small box, a message from the palace, he said. Okoye opened it slowly. Inside was a beaded bracelet, the same pattern as the mark on Namaka's wrist. Beneath it was a simple message. I am still your daughter. Okoye's hands trembled as he held it close to his chest, tears falling freely. He looked up at the sky and whispered, Nwamaka. And somewhere far away in a place of power and royalty, a young girl stood by a window, holding on to her past with one hand and stepping into her future with the other. Because sometimes love does not choose where you come from, it chooses who never leaves your heart. The moral lesson in this story is that true love is not defined by blood, but by sacrifice. care, and selflessness. Sometimes the hardest act of love is letting go, so the one you love can become who they are meant to be. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories. Thank you for watching. See you in my next story.